Right, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Cars and Engineering. In today's episode, I'm going to be fitting this little bag of tricks to the oil cooler. Stay tuned. Right, so as I said in my very vague intro, you may have guessed probably from the title, we are fitting a oil temperature sensor to the Polo. Now, you may wonder why I've got a oil cooler from a 9N3 on the bench, and that is because this will be easy to show you on the bench first and then actually on the car. So this is where the oil filter should sit, this is where the oil cooler should sit, the little sort of aluminium block with the two pipes coming off of it. This is from a stripped down engine. That's the oil pressure sensor as far as I'm aware, and that's like a, I think that's the the feed line to the turbo. I'm not sure, I can't remember that one. It's been a while since I stripped it down. Anyway, this is the oil cooler, okay? This is a nice little bit of tech from Bar-tek. So, this is a simple thermometer. So basically what it does is you plug it into power and ground, this lights up, and then you've got your input here. Now you may be asking why I've got this on the bench with the oil cooler itself. I'll show you why. With the Bar-tek kit you get this little probe. I think it's a 9N3 that's the thread anyway, not 1A turbo. Anyway, this little bung here, I don't know if you can see that, comes factory on pretty much all 180s, and it's not used for anything. So 5mm Allen key, pop that out, get a washer on top of that, probably put a bit of silicone on it as well perhaps. Put that in there. Tighten that up, obviously with the washer as central as you can get it. Tighten that up, obviously I'll do that on the car. And there you have a live temperature reading from the actual oil filter itself. And seeing as the cooler is here as well, you're getting quite an accurate oil temperature sensor. Look, there's a little sensor there. So all the oil will be in this little chamber here. Obviously you've got your pressure there. I believe that's pressure. Yeah, it must be. Because you've got the pressure bypass there. That's your pressure gauge. You can obviously tee that off as well and do this, but that little bung is just waiting for this to happen. Just basically put that there. Bar-tek kindly provides you with these sort of extension cables, so you can have that mounted on the dashboard, and these can go for the bulkhead. We'll be doing that in a little while, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, as well, with this bit, I ordered a sump plug adapter, so that can go on the sump plug, and then that can go out the middle, or this little fit in here can go out the middle. Let me just show you quickly. So that will replace the sump plug. Get a little doughty wash with that, and drop it up the floor. Then this little probe goes up the middle, and then as you can see, it takes the oil temperature from the sump. Now, I could get another one of these kits, they're quite cheap. I'll put the link down in the description. This is not sponsored by Bar-tek by any means of the imagination. I've had this kit for quite a while, not got around to fitting it, but this is where I'm going to be fitting it for now. If I have to, I'll T-piece off that and probably maybe put this here and then get another pressure switch for here for a pressure gauge, but we'll see how things pan out. Anyway, yeah, that's the little temperature sensor. So all that needs is live and ground. You can get that off the back of like the light switch or something. And then this does not need power. All this needs, after dropping the washer, all this needs is a washer, maybe a little bit of silicone. Put that in there. And then that can be chased up the car using this very handy kit. So just a normal sort of automotive clip fitting. Goes in like that. That can be put in some convoluted tubing, so your perfect size. Then that can be run through the bulkhead into the actual sender here. If I can get it the right way around. That's into the actual sender there. So you've got another extender there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide some power to this so you can see how easy it is to fit. Also to say as well, you get some little like foam plastic backing things to go on here and put it on to the dashboard or wherever you want to put it. You also get these good little sort of like clip-on terminals so you can sort of splice into sort of existing wires. I might use them, I might not, I don't know yet. But yeah, let's get this running. We'll do a little demo on the bench and then we can move on to the car and I'll show you in practicality how this will fit inside the vehicle. Right, so just gonna connect it now to a bit of power. So as you can see, it's easy as that. It's now saying it's 20 degrees. If I unplug this from the borehole, so that's the probe, 21 degrees. The heat from my hand, that 22, 23. So you get the gist. This will provide live data of the oil temperature at the oil filter. Now, this is only a thermometer. This only tells temperature. So if this starts going to like 200 degrees or 120 degrees and the oil starts losing its viscosity, this will not tell me. This will not go beep, 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 beep. There won't be an alarm or anything like that. This is a very simple thermometer. This just tells you temperature, but this isn't limited just to oil. You could put this on a gearbox. You could tell you gearbox temperatures, even DSG temperatures on like a Haldex system or a rear differential or anything like that. This is such a versatile thing. As you can see, this is very easy to install. You can get these bungs. This will go in a gearbox or a sump or a diff. You can have live data readings of pretty much anything, even water. You can even tap and dye or even get an actual adapter for this for a water system. So you can have live data from your cooling system as well. Now, they're small, they're cheap, they're pretty easy in principle on the bench, but the proof of the pudding will be fitting it into the car and finding somewhere where you can see that, but it's not distracting in the vehicle. Because it's blue. It's got the blue display, but I'm pretty sure Bar-tek do different colours as well. I'm pretty sure there's a red display and things like that. I got the blue because of the interior lights on the Polo. The dials are blue and the needles are red. So this sort of goes with the motif. You could even have probably a blue one, red one, blue one. But yeah, got two little connectors coming out there. So in principle, it's very simple. As I said, you even get little foam pads to stick it on the dashboard. Now you could even make an enclosure, you could even 3D print an enclosure or fiberglass enclosure for this. But like I said, very simple mod to keep an eye on your oil temperature and if it needs more cooling. This can give you more data. So if you're kicking the cars in around the track or even on the road, obviously within speed limits, yeah. This will tell you whether it's going to be protecting your engine or damaging your engine. And this is, I think it's like £30–40 worth of kit. So that's probably worth the £2,000 that an engine would rebuild, or £2,000 or $2,000 wherever you live in the world. This little bit of kit will help you not kill your engine. Obviously this paired with a oil pressure gauge would be ideal because you'll be able to see the temperature and the pressure. If either of them drop, or if that goes too high and the pressure drops out, you can turn the engine off and coast to somewhere where it's safe. But yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. We're going to get this on the car. We're going to fit this on the car. I'm going to show you how to chase for the bulkhead. We're probably not going to be using that. We're just going to go from this little bung here, and then as and when we see fit, when an oil pressure gauge goes on, then we can decide whether or not we swap that round and use a T-piece off the pressure line there. Stay tuned. Right, so here we are on the car. You can see this is the oil cooler here. And if I zoom in a bit, you can see the little bung that we're trying to get to. Now, the little bracket here is in the way. It's where the secondary air injection pump sits, but obviously that's been long deleted. You've got the sensor hanging off the side there. That's your pipes for the oil cooler. It's a little bit crusty, but you get the fundamental. So I'm going to get this bracket out of the way so we can get to that bung nice and easily. Right, so the bracket's out of the way so we can get to the bung a little bit more readily. This bracket also holds, I don't know if you can see it down there, there's like a grey plug down in the bowels right there. That is the crankshaft position sensor, so you don't want to just be ripping this bracket out. You want to keep it somewhat intact so it can go back. I'm going to do that because purely it holds the crankshaft sensor wiring, and I can't currently get access down there without taking all the intake off to make a nice routing for the cable. So for now that's just going to stay there. I'm going to get the bung out of the way, put the sensor in, and then we can chase the cable up through here somewhere and then possibly through the bulkhead down there. As you can see, she always puts up a fight. So the bung can now be taken out, and there will be some oil in there, obviously, because this is the oil cooler, or well, the oil filter housing. That's the bung. Put that somewhere safe. Get some brake cleaners, clean it up, then we can silicone it, and then put the temperature sensor in. Right, just going to spray that, let that dry, and while I do that, I'm going to get the bung ready to go in. Right, so this is the temperature sensor. My bloody hand. So normally I'd put a copper washer on this, but the face is a little bit weird, so I'm just going to use some Loctite silicone. Literally just putting it around the edge like this. I will keep an eye on it when it's running. If it does leak, then I'm going to have no choice but to put a copper washer on it. And for good measure, I'm going to put some on the thread as well. This is normally more, but I don't want this to leak. Right, so the brake cleaner is now dried in the thread. It's cleaned up a little bit, so there's a bit of a better surface to mate to. The temperature sensor has some silicone on it. We can now start to thread it in. So you're doing it by hand. You don't really want to use power tools for this sort of application. I can slowly go all the way in. You'll see some silicone sort of ooze out the bottom. And then just tying it off with a 12mm. And that is the sensor in the housing. Also you've got the end of the sensor there as well. That can now be connected to the extension cable and then run through the bulkhead into the actual gauge. Obviously don't forget to put this bracket back because you don't want that rattling around. Right, so now the sensor has some time to go off. This is obviously the connector. So this is where you get the extension lead for it, almost. And you put that over that connector there, but I'm going to go one further. I'm going to get some heat shrink to go over the whole lot, so bear with me. So there's the heat shrink already on the cable, just a matter of plugging them into each other. That's all plugged in. Now the heat shrink can go over the entire join. So the heat shrink's there in place. You can now connect it in. Make sure it's in properly, and then the heat shrink can go over the connector. So there's a nice bit of length on either end. And then it can be shrunk onto the cable. So without burning any wire or anything like that. And that's just like another little bit of a protection against any elements or it actually coming undone. Right, so that's the actual cable there like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use some mechanical sleeving, which is this split convoluted tubing. This is purely to sort of give it a little bit of extra security in the engine bay, so it doesn't chafe or anything, or nothing chafe through the cable. So that's the entire cable covered in some convoluted tubing. Makes it a lot more sturdy against abrasion. So all we've got to do now is chase this cable inside the cabin and then wire up the gauge on the dashboard. Right, so as you can see here, this sort of metal bar, sort of puller, has been put through a hole in the bulkhead. It's down beyond the ABS pump. I've drilled a secondary hole next to the hole where the boost gauge goes through. You'll see that soon, if not you've probably seen it already. The boost gauge pipe goes through that. I've drilled a hole next to it for this application specifically, but that fits perfectly. So I just need to connect that to that and then chase it through the hole on the other side. So that is the cable through. As you can see, that's the boost line for the boost gauge. You can run basically alongside that up to where the actual display is going to be. Well, as you can see, this is the cable here still. It's been run for the bulkhead. Now we've just got to sort of cable tie it up and make it neat so it's not rubbing on anything or causing any sort of damage. Right, so as you can already see, and as you already know, the pipe is coming through there, comes under the dashboard. I had to pull all of the radio out, and then it feeds across the back of the radio, and then comes out here. Now normally, on the right hand drive versions anyway, there's a plate here to block that off, but I've got all the USB cable in it for the aftermarket stereo, which then connects into a phone. So that have to be unsightly for now, but we've got the temperature sensor connector there. I've already taken a little bit of running a 12 volt feed. I just need to find like a ground in here somewhere. Anything that's metal will do. If not, I'll be able to get a ground somewhere else and run another cable. But that's the 12 volt power in. I'm going to show you how to splice that in to a 12 volt feed from over this side. Right, so as some of you may be aware, this is the automatic switch that I installed a few years ago now. But the multi-plug on the back will be the same for pretty much any Polo. Okay, if you've got all these different wires here, what you need to do, using a multimeter, find decent ground, which is inside the dash somewhere. Anything metal. We want to put it on volts. Now what we're looking for, while the car's off, I'm going to check every pin to see where the permanent feed is. So just found it, you can see it there. It's this red wire there. Okay, that's not the one we want. Okay, I've already read one. I've already fed something off the switchable 12 volt, which turns on. So this grey and blue wire here, with some tape around it, very badly done, that turns on the boost gauge. So if I put the probe in there and turn the lights on, you can see it's got 13 volts, and it's only got that because the car's currently connected to a charger. But that's a switchable 12 volt. But that's switchable when the lights turn on with this automatic sensor. So then that makes the boost gauge turn on. What we want is a switchable 12 volt, which is on when the car turns on. So now the key's out, we want a wire that turns on and off with the key. Okay, so key's in. I'm going to go through all of these still. So we know that's the permanent live. This red one just out of frame. Let's move the camera back a bit, might help. All of the others that's 0.03 volt, that's not what we want. All of the others are off. So what we're going to do, I'm going to turn the ignition on, so all the dashboard lights are on, so the car's not running, and then go through the cycle again. Find out which one turns on and off with the ignition, and that one there. So this big chunky black and red wire here, there's two of them. See if I can zoom in on that. These two here, if I put the probe down there, you see it's got 11 volts when the ignition's on. Take the key out, 0. That's the one we want. So what we're going to do, we're going to separate that one cable using your cable strippers. We're going to just separate a little bit of copper wire there, just so we can run the cable off of it. Right, so getting the new live, I'm going to feed it under here. and then using my Ryobi soldering iron. Good bit of kit this. It's not sponsored or anything, but this is a good bit of kit. It takes 50 seconds of heat to 480 degrees. And when you're in the field, or if you're out and about, this is really a good help. Right, so the soldering iron is ready. Just got to heat up the joint. So now that's all interlaid. The switch can go back in, along with the boost gauge. So now it's all back in, just need to make sure we've still got a 12 volt switchable on the other side. Right, so now we've got the positive, or the 12 volt switchable. We've got a negative cable as well. I'll put the red on the positive, black's negative. And we've also got the sensor wire. Now I just need to choose where to put it, and my initial fault, or my only fault, is to put it here. So that way I'll be able to see it whilst driving. It's not really obstructing the dashboard too much, and the cables can easily be tucked in this little crevice down here. It also leaves me one spare button over here, or if I really have to move it, I can move it up or put it in the vent somewhere. So that's probably where I'm going to put it. Before I do that, I'm going to wire everything in and then give it a test. Right, so now the actual sensors all wired in, or the actual displays all wired in. I can now get these cables out of the way. Get the radio out again. Now get these wires into the dashboard, get them out of the way. And then I can mount the actual display itself. I want to get it as central as possible, so I can still push the buttons. Now what's left is to make sure it turns on. There you go. So it's going to be free line at the moment because it's not plugged into the sensor. That's this cable here and the convoluted tubing. Plug it in, 23 degrees. That's the oil temperature that we're getting. Well, at the moment anyway. I'll turn the car on in a moment. Let me just finish wiring this in and then we can watch that rise as the temperature rises of the car. Right, so now we can turn the ignition on. It turns on. Again, it's still 23 degrees. Let's turn the car on, let it heat up a little bit, and then we can go from there. Right, so as you can see, the oil is now sitting about 45 degrees. It's taking about 5 minutes or so to get up to about that. I will take it for a drive, see where it gets up to, and sort of see what it roughly sits at. This will be part of a sort of follow-up video where I'll be fitting an oil cooler as well, with a thermostat on it, and maybe even an override switch, so I can turn the oil cooler on and off. There'll be some sort of like sciencey stuff involved with that, so I'll get more into that at the time. But as always, we've come to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, see you in the next one, and take care.